then just drove over the line, and the opponents were actually quite close behind me. So here for the last video, and in my opinion, toughest challenge if you use this car, at least if you would use I would say, I guess, any Group 1 car, which is possibly not the 962C from Porsche, which is by far the slowest Group 1 car in the game. Unfortunately, it's still quite quick. I guess it would be rather easy to win with it, but I can only guess. Like if you would have, now I'm fast forwarding again, if you would have like something newer like the Porsche 919, or better the 80s and 90s monsters like the Mazda 787B, you would certainly have a very easy time on this challenge. But I didn't have this car, so I didn't want to spend money, because you win this Formula 1 car in the license tests or in one of the mission challenge batches. I thought, why not try it? Why not? So the first 2 laps you're driving on fuel depletion 1, full throttle, and you pit in the second lap because your fuel will be depleted, and it is part of the strategy. Now what you need to do is to get full fuel, to refuel your car completely, and you need to switch already in the second lap to wet tires, not intermediates, definitely wet. And again, that's part of the tactics that I used, of the strategy. This is always the word I'm looking for. Yeah, the strategy that I used. I did try this race a few times, and you will see how close it will be at the end. And it was literally the only car I could use for this race. The Red Bull competition had a weird bug, or has a weird bug, where on the controller and on the wheel the car just slams to the sides, and you cannot simply not control it, you cannot keep it on track. So this was literally the only time I could use without spending money on any other car, and this is the only strategy that worked for me. So after driving out of the pit lane, use fuel depletion 6 or 5 is the lowest, right? 5 or 6, so the lowest. And as you evidently at the latest by now can see, there is a problem with using this car. I mean, it's a Formula car, like a replica of an 80s Formula 1 car. It has no headlights. I don't even know if there is a possibility in the game to buy like external headlights and strap it to the car. If there is, you should definitely do it. If there isn't, well, you can try to do what I do. And as you can see also now that in the third lap it starts to rain, so if you try to go for 3 laps with less fuel depletion, you will do it by the distance, but the tires, the soft racing tires, will be just will not be enough by the end of the third lap, and you can simply not keep the car on track without spinning the entire time, even using traction control. And you will just lose far too much time against your opponents. So this is with my strategy, this is the only possibility how you can do it. By the end of the second lap, going from racing softs, doing the first 2 laps on fuel depletion, changing to wet tires, full refueling the car completely, and directly after exiting the pit stop, switching to fuel depletion 5 or 6, depending on what is the lowest. I cannot remember. What you cannot see here in the replay, unfortunately, there are quite a few important, I think, informations missing, like the real-time difference between you and the opponents as well. But what the game does not show in the replays as well is, or are, these yellow markers on the track that show you the apexes of the turns. So they help greatly here during the night driving this car to approximate where the track is actually situated, and where the apexes are, so you don't come off the track in the wet, which is in itself quite challenging to drive. But I thought, you know, why not give it a try? But look at this, how dark it can get. Well, here you can see the markers for the punishment you might get if you get off track. But the other yellow markers I'm talking about, you can only see them during the race. I believe they are standard. You don't need to separately activate them in the game, I believe. If so, then definitely do so, because without them you will definitely not do it. That it will be just too difficult without them. You know, here you might see something, but on the very dark patches you need those yellow markers to approximate where the track is. You might need 1 or 2 retries, obviously, and as you can see, I'm still getting off track from time to time slightly and losing slightly some time, which in the end effectively did not cost me time. You will see what I mean by the end of the race. But yeah, that is for the end of the race. So here at the start finish line, it's rather easy to see where to go. And here, as you will see, I almost spun, almost lost it. Well, I did spun a little, but not completely, didn't lose it completely. And as you can see, I'm using traction control on 4, I believe. Pretty sure on 4, so very high already. And the tires are still, although they are fresh, spinning all the time because it's so wet. So it's definitely not an easy task maneuvering this missile, you know, around the track, this wild car, which it really is, in the wet and then in the dark without headlights. So yeah, again, you might need 1 or 2 or more retries to memorize the track well enough, but it's possible. If you're such cheap, how do you say, cheapsteak, like me, or cheapsake, how do you say it? Then yeah, just go for this formula car and try a few times until you memorize the track enough. And the yellow way markers are enough of a help that you might survive the night if you want. So, and it's very important to be at this part of the race, to be as quick as you can, even also on the straights, because the opponents are very conservative during this part of the race in the 4th lap, and you can win a lot of time on the straights compared to them. That might look different now, but look how I will get away from him now. Look at that. So they're very conservative, and yes, you can make up a lot of time, and you will need it definitely as well. So without some of the mistakes I did, you know, almost spinning out like 3 times or something, obviously you would have like 8 seconds more than me, so you wouldn't need to be so much on the edge on the straights then as I am here. And as you can see, it slowly starts switching to the daytime, and from here on you could already see, and well, wouldn't need headlights anyway. So we did survive the night, and let us see what is the strategy to finishing successfully this race. So again, I'll repeat myself, the game does unfortunately not show the real-time difference or the distance between you and your opponents in time during the replay. But yeah, I'm 5th, and I can tell you I was barely any quicker than them, and doing mistakes here again. So yeah, again, in the wet it's really difficult to drive the car properly, even with traction control on. And you see the Mazda is right behind me, it's quicker than me. So I was on average possibly even on average lap, I might still have been, I don't know, maybe 2 seconds quicker, so barely any quicker. That definitely would not help me win the race, so there must happen something by the end of the race for you to be able to win it. But if you apply my strategy and the weather change is not too drastically different from my example here in your case, or from my case in your case, then my strategy will definitely work for you as well. As you would probably already have guessed, this is a one-stop strategy, and this lap I did fast forward again, the 5th lap, which is, well, I'll spoil you, the second to last lap. Nothing too major will happen. We do overtake a few cars, but that doesn't change our position on track. And here we're starting with the last lap of the race. You can absolutely do 7 laps in this race, but not in this car, and at least not with a one-stopper. With this 2-stopper it would be possible, but not with a one-stopper, because I'm driving all the time after the pit stop on the highest fuel saving mode, of course, not depletion mode, saving mode. I believe I said it the whole time wrongly. Of course, I mean fuel saving mode, right? 6. 1 is highest depletion, 5 is lowest depletion, or 1 is lowest saving, and 5 is highest saving mode. So yeah, here in front of us is the Mercedes Sauber C9, Le Mans racer from '89, and we were basically all the time trying to hunt him down, and I did a mistake here. I don't know exactly what I did. I probably just went too far over the curb and got a half a second penalty, which by that point in time in the race I didn't know if it would even possibly cost me the race, so I wasn't very glad about that. So now in his slipstream, getting closer to him, and just doing a little mistake again. Yeah, bad line for me. But he was kind of too slow. And now look here, they are out accelerating me really easily out of turns, and they are better accelerating at around up until 300 km/h, maybe even more. But once I get into their slipstream, I can get closer to them. So him being here on this part of the track definitely helped me with the slipstream. It might have saved me, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 seconds, maybe more. So here I had finally a long enough stretch to finally pass him. But after that come the very slow corners. Well, he will be just so much better at accelerating out of the corner. My tire is degrading, by the way, pretty severely by now. The track is still somewhat wet, but not really wet. You could drive with slicks already. Not very good. I don't know if it would be quicker. I guess it would be somewhat quicker than right now with the wet tires. And now here serving the penalty. It's a better word than punishment, yeah. And then, well, trying again to hunt him down. But look, I'm still 5th, like, what was it? Like 2 or even 3, 4 laps before it. So I did not gain any major ground on the opponents. So how do I win? This is the last lap. We're close to the finish line. Well, you can guess. I guess, right? You see, all the first 2 are already in the pit lane. So by that point, by that time, I really gave my best to go as quickly over the line, and as soon after the 24 minutes ended, as possible and hoping they would still be in the pit lane and refueling or getting their tires, whatever. So you look at the time on the left bottom corner and then above where the enemies are. So here's the line, I go over the line, and here's the next opponent going 2 seconds after me going over the line. So that was extremely close. And this is how I did it without headlights with this car. One pit strategy. Very close thing, so not very easy to pull off, to replicate. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. I hope it was a good help. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.